You're listening to the Mr. Seale podcast show. I'm your podcast host, Seale, or Gabriel Seale. I'm going to be speaking to you about all types of topics later, so however you listen to your podcasts and radio, you want to tune in. First, I want you listeners to know about something that took place at the U.S. District Court in the District of Columbia, so let's get straight to it. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, and UAV Corp in Weehawken, Florida, have received information about my filing a plaintiff's claim for employment discrimination against DowntownDC BID Foundation on January 13th, 2025 at the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. I'll give you an explanation for the reason that information was sent to UAV Corp later within this recording. The case name is Gabriel Seale versus DowntownDC BID Foundation. My plaintiff's claim revolves around DowntownDC BID Foundation discriminating against my employment with them in the year 2024 and unjustly terminating my employment after they created company errors. I reported that information to a public space operations director at that company. After being hired to the company and then having my job unjustly terminated by them later, I followed legal rules with filing that information to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in 2024. With the case still in limbo at the United States District Court months after filing it and the judge possibly getting ready to create the error of letting the defendant company go free by dismissing the charges against them and doing that with the evidence in my favor, the plaintiff's favor, will bring the ultimate question to the USDC Court at 333 Constitution Avenue in D.C. from the U.S. President of the United States position, who can simply look into the case and wonder why the judge would make that error. Not just President Donald Trump, but any U.S. president or vice president for the tenure of the presidencies to come, if DowntownDC BID also decides to continue using a key feature within their company radio locator phone app. The evidence of employment discrimination includes the reporting of DowntownDC BID supervisors, or the company over them, who was purposely late with issuing to me a company radio locator phone that also carried a specific radio code of 1039 U.S. President in the area. They claim that their monitoring the radio locator phone would prove that I was in the work zone working, so they didn't want me to have one. They also claim that my last name, Seale, S-E-A-L-E, was too close with the pronunciation of the seal of the President of the United States, and they thought that I would advance faster than other safety maintenance ambassadors, their chosen ones, on the job if, however, I had to use the 1039 President in the Area radio code. If Donald Trump or J.D. Vance was nearby while servicing one of the DowntownDC BID Foundation work zones, when they would have later won the 2024 presidency, or Joe Biden and Kamala Harris if they would have continued to another 4-year term by winning the 2024 presidential election. Already, the case is important to the seal of the President of the United States, and honestly, I do not really think that the President of the United States wants the judge to lose the case to the defendant company, DowntownDC BID. They'll be looking at federal protocols and why a nonprofit organization, DowntownDC BID Foundation, went against those protocols while using them by not issuing the radio locator phone to me and making it look like a federal protocol if it was not to be under their control to use it. The discrimination did not start there. The main evidence to the case, 1:25CV00079RC at the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, is also a falsified second interview email that was sent from the DowntownDC BID hiring manager company email of christian@downtowndc.org to my Google Gmail before I was hired. Google also has this evidence stored within their system computers, while the USDC judge knows that the defendant, DowntownDC BID Foundation, has read the plaintiff complaint and allegations after DowntownDC BID Foundation received their summons in February of 2025 to appear in court. Where their discrimination started at was with a DowntownDC BID Foundation receptionist who shouted at me before I was hired when I was inquiring about my resume at the headquarters, weeks after sending it online to admin jobs at downtowndc.org in December 2023. The statement that she shouted at me was, "Just because there's a bunch of blacks working here, don't think that you're getting hired because the hiring manager is Spanish." The statement the Downtown DC BID Foundation receptionist made at the headquarters was a race statement that had nothing to do with employment. Other statements she made was that she could not give me the manager's contact information for follow-up to my resume, and that they were not hiring when they was hiring. She also stated that the IT guy at the company was going to be taking the job posting out of the computer because it was invalid. After weeks went by and the posting remained on their online portal at downtowndc.org, I made contact with the Public Space Operations Director of the company on January 31st, 24, and reported to him about the racist statements the receptionist shouted at me at the headquarters, and that she lied and stated the company was not hiring. The Public Space Operations Director apologized, said that they was hiring, and told me to send the resume to his personal downtowndc.org business email address. After the Public Space Operations Director contacted the hiring manager and told him what the receptionist did at the headquarters, they sent the falsified second interview email from Downtown DC BID to my Google Gmail address on 3/18/2024, saying that they need me to come to a second interview to learn more about my background and how it complements the needs of the organization. I somewhat had known that they falsified the second interview information within the email to cover for the racist remarks they made to me at the headquarters when inquiring about my resume. That information they sent appeared to be a code to the operations team from the Public Space Operations Director, who I spoke with, and the hiring manager to hire me after the interview, however, create discriminating errors with my employment and then terminate my employment with them, which they did. There are plenty of allegations against Downtown DC BID Foundation. This was also a major reason for contacting U.S. President Donald Trump. I sent letters to President Donald Trump before he was reelected in 2024 and Trump Media and Technology Group about the employment discrimination and unjust job termination in 2024 before I filed the plaintiff claim at the USDC against the defendants in January 2025. The rules for employment discrimination in the United States of America states that you must first file a claim with the EEOC to see if your claim meets the requirements for pressing charges. Then, the EEOC can press directly for an amount up to $50,000 in back pay and front pay, or they can give to you a right to sue notice, and you can press charges against the company that discriminated against you for any amount you believe they owe to you. The EEOC issued a right to sue notice to file with a federal court, and the EEOC Washington, D.C. field office sent Downtown DC BID Foundation a charge for the employment discrimination in 2024. What we know about how the USDC court runs and provided the evidence with my plaintiff claim against Downtown DC BID Foundation and the interactions with memorandums and motions filed to the court between my allegations against the defendant and the defendant's illegitimate defense statements is that if the USDC court judge makes the wrong decision of letting the defendant company go free, it's possible that the name of the USDC courthouse through Congress, currently named the E-Bar Pretty Man U.S. District Court, can change on the building back to the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. I'm not saying that the U.S. Senate would do that, but they could. I know for sure that the U.S. Senate will most likely investigate the USDC court judge presiding over the case and possibly impeach him if he lets the defendant Downtown DC BID Foundation go free and they find other acts of treason, bribery, abuse of power, making false statements, ethical or criminal misconduct from him, and so on. We can clearly tell that the case, Seale versus Downtown DC BID Foundation, if you also go online to pacermonitor.com or pacer.uscourts.gov, which the court has made available to the public for viewing filed documents, and you read and study the case, you'll see that Downtown DC BID Foundation should be found guilty. At times, some court judges and defendant counsel attorneys will, however, try getting over on a plaintiff who is going pro se and representing his own party who might not need an attorney. You can also see clearly that with the evidence to the plaintiff claim I filed in the case, an attorney is not needed to represent me, the plaintiff, and the President of the United States and the Senate Judiciary Committee will clearly see that as well when reviewing the case dockets and statements within the memorandums and motions from me, the plaintiff in this case, and the defendant company's illegitimate defense statements. With respect to rename the E-Barred Prettyman U.S. District Court back to the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, it's possible that can happen if the judge lets the defendant company go free. This is why. When the courthouse was completely constructed in the early 1950s, it was not named E-Barred Prettyman U.S. District Court. It was not named E-Barred Prettyman U.S. District Court until 1997. So over time, Congress can change the titles to government agencies and entities. Now, the reason for sending information in February 2025 to UAV Corp about the ongoing duration of the DowntownDC BID's employment discrimination while working there, a lot of different ideas for how the company completed business and how it was possible they could complete business was brought to mind. I spoke to other employees at times about the processes and equipment we use to keep the work zones in the downtown DC Business Improvement District clean, and the processes they might or could use in the future. In a conversation with one of the other employees, we started talking about if the company was ever going to use drones to transport specific equipment to and from employees and to and from work zones. We was talking about UAVs, or unmanned aerial vehicles, where I typed in the word for UAV on the computer, and that's where UAV Corp came up with a number of other drone technology businesses. Well, anyway, I had already seen a few companies talking about using UAV drone technology to transport goods and services to people, such as Amazon and UPS. The Downtown DC BID job termination got on my nerves so much that I decided to locate and point out areas that the Downtown DC BID company was short at, like not having UAV drones to lift heavy objects to place in the back of the company pickups with the fence on the back, and not having them bring supplies to employees in a work zone when there's no available supervisor rolling around on one of the golf cart looking cars to bring the supplies to you. When contacting UAV Corp and Google Chief Business Officer Philip Schindler based on the errors that the Downtown DC BID Foundation created, it was because of the need for UAV Corp and Google advancements to the work zones that Downtown DC BID Foundation seems to lack and falls short with the management of. That's management of the location and whereabouts of container discrepancies, and the radio locator phone and radio locator phone app that they issue to employees. The radio locator phone app for the employees is supposed to have real-time location and photo, fax, and send capabilities directly to operations staff at the Downtown DC BID base, which was located at 1229 New York Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. I requested an upgrade to the device's app within their letter and stated that it should have UAV Corp technologies within the app with new mapping features that can give real-time updates of Downtown DC BID Foundation supply areas and location of operations staff members on duty, and Downtown DC BID Foundation vehicle locations, as well as UAV drone mapping of street washer vehicles, street sweepers, motorized utility golf carts, and vans. This is mainly because of Downtown DC BID Foundation being purposely late with issuing the radio locator phone to me while I was employed with the company for a month, and then making statements that they was purposely late because if I had one, then it would prove that I was in a location working, so therefore they didn't want me working with them. There were always Downtown DC BID supervisors at the dispatch base, and that's one of the locations they could send a UAV from to deliver and return supplies with the company work vehicles. I was trying to tell that to UAV Corp, and that UAV Corp is going to be needed at a company like Downtown DC BID Foundation in the near future. I thought about UAV Corp getting better contracted government funding to supply the technologies that they need. That's what I might be telling you about in a few more recordings later. I told the President of the United States that the information that I sent to him in 2024 at Trump Media and Technology Group before he became president again, I later sent to UAV Corp in 2025 and request of UAV Corp able to supply and control specific technology processes for use with Downtown DC BID Foundation or companies like it. This part was from the frustration of DowntownDC BID Foundation discriminating against me through the duration of my employment, where sometimes conversations started with me and other employees speaking about UAV drone technology for deliveries. The reason that at that time I seen UAV Corp fit for receiving the funds necessary from government to supply their technologies is also because of the name they've chosen for the company, UAV Corp. This is how I found the company when typing UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle, on the computer within a search query to get results. UAV Corp came up, and so that's when I clicked on the UAV Corp link. Even if UAV Corp does not wish to supply and control a new drone technology for DowntownDC BID Foundation, I still believe that UAV Corp should receive an amount of funds necessary from government to advance their technologies in the LTA and UAV drone manufacturing business. Michael Lawson and Maceo Remy could get more videos with discussion of their current processes placed on their YouTube channel, Twitter X, and even LinkedIn when looking for employees. That would make a major impact when new viewers are learning about what their company has to provide. I don't know what the long-run future is with UAV Corp, but because of DowntownDC BID Foundation's errors, that stirred me up. And so then I told the President of the United States that UAV Corp should be able to work with Downtown DC if they ever wanted to. I thought about a UAV Corp or Atlantic Industrial Group drone also mounted on top of some of the Downtown DC BID pickups or other like processes from AIG and UAV Corp that would be able to pick up and place heavy objects, plus send and deliver supplies to employees at specific Downtown DC BID work zones. Since UAV Corp is in the letter about Downtown DC BID's employment discrimination against me and having the evidence to that, I believe that a government agency needs to help fund UAV Corp and AIG's business interests. Tune in for more of the Mr. Seale podcast show.